is tremendous, and I think it would serve us well to really reinvest and at least on a per tech staff member get it back to similar levels it was a few years ago.
Yeah, and the reason that it's down lower too, or the reason I can justify that it's down lower is basically part of the salaries of the tech integrators. I mean, that's what their job is professional development. So we're still spending some of that money, but just kind of in a different account.
Other questions? I guess I have a follow-up. The professional development in your budget is the professional development of your staff, right? Not the professional development your staff provides to the teaching.
Yeah, I haven't really included any professional development for my staff in these lean budget times. I have in the past, but I have not.
So what is the staff development, though, is that conference?
We have that one conference that they go to, okay. And we rely on some of the opportunities that are online that are less expensive and or free, is what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Will we see, I was glad you asked that question about the staff development. So will we see in the other departments, other staff development funds, but none of it will be IT related?
Correct.
But this fund really represents the school rather than your department. Did I?
A large chunk of this goes to staff in all three schools.
Right.
Through the conference opportunity and the Cape Academy.
I guess I wish that we could divide that and have any funds that came from the other departments be parentheses to put in those other schools under the other administrators, so we could honestly see what IT gets for staff for funding.
There is money in each of the that the building principals have discretion over for staff development. Plus, there's a pretty good chunk of money that the superintendent has for professional development. So we certainly are not going to turn down any money that you think would boost those accounts, because that's the biggest return on investment you can make is in professional development.
Well, I guess that's what I agree. And following up on Michael's comment, it would seem, well, we've said it, so thank you.
Can I ask a question, John? Just to break the rule. I can't help it.
How long did that take?
It's going to be real quick. Well, actually,
Sure, go right ahead.
How do we store our data? I mean, we're shifting to Google, which is basically cloud storage. Before we had Microsoft, which I assume is stored on backup machines and hard drives on individual computers.
We still have some or both. If people are truly using Google Docs and Google Apps for Education, then Google is storing that data. We still have local servers where data is stored.
Would you predict over time that as more people use Google Docs, we'll have less of a need for backup storage devices for our school system, and thus ultimately save money in the future?
That certainly is the trend, the way things are looking.
Thank you.
Any other questions about the technology budget? Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
So I guess we will move on to debt service. I probably should have said at the beginning, the technology department budget is down versus last year by $2,018. The debt service is also down. I believe that number is $34,037. Do we have questions about the debt service?
The good news with debt service is that when we review the capital reserve plan is you'll have a funding mechanism coming up pretty shortly. You've got 4 different mortgages, if you will, 2 on the high school, 1 on Pond Cove, and 1 on the middle school. And that one of those ones on the middle school will be retired in the next 2 or 3 years. And that will help to fund that capital reserve plan, which is in the works, if you just, use that money for that purpose. So that's a significant chunk of money. It's $500,000, almost $600,000.
And when's the last payment on that?
2015, which sounds like a long ways away, but it's only 3 budgets after this one. So the other ones are quite a ways out.
Does this debt service schedule include the lease for the boiler, or is this is only for capital?
Yeah, this is for the bonds
Capitalized.
that we've floated in the past for the major renovation projects at each of those schools.
Thank you.
The leases will be in Gary's budget for the boiler under custodian facilities.
Greg's budget.
Greg, what did I say, Gary? Sorry. Close confuses. Gary, Greg's. Names, not physical appearance.
So these are all fixed bonds that we really have no flexibility. There's not anything we can really approve.
No, there's not much you can do here, gang.
There's not much
You
we can
wanna-
do here. I believe that this was reduced in last year's budget as well through some refinancing that,
Yes.
if I remember correctly, that Mike did. But we don't have a lot of levers to pull on this one.
Unless you want to model the rest of the housing industry and go bankrupt on your mortgage payments. It's pretty set.
And we get a bailout for that?
Actually, I think that's a pretty good question. Are the bonds such that we can't refinance them? They have payment penalties? I mean, why, if we have bonds in these various buildings and bond rates are the lowest they've ever been, is there something in those bond documents that prevent us from refinancing them and paying?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Michael probably rides herd on that, and when the opportunity arises that he sees that we can save some money, he probably gets right after it. That's probably why we've got a $34,000 decrease. Is Mike anywhere near accurate, Pauline? You are. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
But they can be refinanced, but my thinking, David, is that Michael rides herd on that, and that's why we've got a decrease this year. And you weren't going to ask any questions on these accounts.
This is me asking no questions.
That was good.
That's very good.
Does that take care of debt service for everybody? Okay, so, health services.
Health services, that is the amount. That's an interesting account. I mean, I think in other years you want to integrate that into the building. It's kind of odd that health services sits as a separate account. It really should be in each principal's budget, but that's a story for another day. That's the money that they'll need to run, the health services program, school nurses, in other words.
Could I get a little clarity around what the equipment is? I see that it jumped, not from last year, but from the year before, from $800 to $2,500. Just wondering what sort of equipment we're buying.
We're all looking at each other, trying to come up with an answer to that.
I thought we were replacing batteries for AEGs.
Couple of things. One is, yes, we did need some refrigerator replacement, and also part of that is for AED battery replacements.
refrigerators both years, or refrigerator 1 year, or, because the $2,500 carries over?
I thought the batteries were most of that cost.
Why don't we research that and get you a precise answer on the 15th?
That'd be great. Could I make a comment about health services, John, that is, it's not numbers related, it's narrative related. And I did ask about the missing narrative at our last meeting, mainly because it provides us, I think, an overview of how things are going with the kids and what sort, part of that is included in that, and there's also information about mandates and health mandates and all of the services that our nursing staff has to provide. So I found that informational. That may be something that we want to do in a future budget meeting, but as a board member, I would find that helpful.
Who did that narrative?
Tatiana and Paula, I think, both did it. But I found it helpful in understanding some of the issues that students were dealing with, in particular in the high school. They gave us an overview of why kids were coming in, how much support they had to provide for dispensing medications, and I think that's all very helpful information to us in terms of making sure we're providing the services that we need to be providing for kids. So if that seems reasonable, I'd like to look at pulling that into a business meeting, if everyone agrees. Ken?
That's reasonable, and that's not a question.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions on the health services budget?
Well, that one, it looks like we're going to have to revisit. We don't have a tentative agreement on that because we owe you some information.
So we're waiting for some information
Yep.
on that.
So
But
we'll
just for
come
the
back to
benefit of anyone who might be watching, the health services budget is coming in at the exact same number, $10,290, at which it was last year. Okay, so from there, we'll go on to an even easier one, volunteer services.
Could we
Total
just
budget
clap?
is $690 for volunteer services, the same number as last year. Do we have questions about volunteer services?
I would only ask the DLTs and the administration, is there anything in volunteer services that would be helpful? Because it reaches so many kids and affects, the volunteers reach so many kids and affect so many teachers in a positive way, and I'm sure administration, how can we support that, the community members and in Gail's work? You know, how can we really thank the community members and show that they're really worth, validate them, I guess is the right word. So that's the only thing I would think, but I'm always seeming to add things to the budget, so if anyone has any ideas, who would they email? Ken? Give Ken that information, but that's source of people, I think, is army of people who are helping the school is amazing for the little money that is given to them.
Yeah, Gail does a tremendous job with that program.
It would be nice for the community to know, given their tax dollars, how many hours the volunteers work. We could probably put a figure on that to know what the community would know how much value is given to the schools that they're not having to pay for. I think that would be helpful for acceptance of any budget.
It's 22,000.
Hours?
22,000 hours, 900 different volunteers. Yeah. So
When she does her annual report, she gives all that information in terms of numbers and dollars and estimated value.
I think that's great. I think it'd be great to have it as part of our budget package to let people know that when they're voting on the budget, they're getting 22,000 hours for free. minimum wage that's, what is, I don't know what minimum wage is now.